Catholics across the country will learn more about the concerns of America's bishops this weekend as they reach out to the faithful for support after the church was dealt a heavy blow by the current administration. Teri Breguet now has the details on the fallout from the new directives issued by the Health and Human Services Department and their threat on religious liberties.
Protests are mounting across the country just 1 week after an unprecedented move by the Obama administration as they cast aside the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, denying Catholics the nation's first and most fundamental freedom, religious liberty. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, headed by Kathleen Sebelius, who identifies herself as Catholic, announced last week that almost all employers, including Catholic hospitals, colleges, and institutions, will be forced to offer their employees health coverage that includes sterilization, abortion-inducing drugs, and contraception. Almost all health insurers will be forced to include these services in their health policies, and almost all individuals will be forced to buy that coverage. They will have 1 year to comply.
We would have to supply our employees with contraceptives free of charge, and that's the issue at hand. And we feel that it is a conscience issue, and it certainly goes against our very basic and fundamental principles.
The administration offered a very narrow religious exemption to some employers, such as churches, but the government will still require most Americans to pay for this coverage, even if it violates their consciences. That's a foul ball by any standard.
Bishops across the country, including Bishop Timothy McDonnell and all of the Massachusetts bishops, prepared letters to be read at Masses this weekend. The HSS move amounts to hell with you, said one bishop. Others called on St. Michael's intercession, horrified by what they called this hateful and radical step in religious intolerance.
It's government interference at its worst, and it has to be overturned.
The bishops cannot emphasize enough that this latest move by the Obama administration is a blatant disregard for the First Amendment. This decision not only affects Catholics, but the constitutional rights of all Americans. Bishops point out that they are not demanding that others live Christian values, but that the right to do so is protected. Gone unchallenged, they warn that the dangers of an encroaching government have no limits.
When we are free to be open to God and to allow that openness to God to shape our life and our action, both privately and publicly, then all of our other freedoms, like freedom of assembly and freedom of speech, suddenly come into sharper focus, and they too are protected when religious liberty is protected.
The health care bill, slated to be enacted in 2013, does contain a clause which exempts certain individuals from the requirements and penalties. So far, more than 1,000 entities have received waivers. But for now, noncompliance to the law spells fines and possible jail time for nearly 1/4 of the nation's population, Catholics.
The Catholic Church has always been a great big target. I won't say Catholics bring it on themselves, but Catholics tend to, and this includes the hierarchy and includes the laity, they tend to be kind of submissive, right, rather than fighting back.
Lawsuits have been filed, and on January 31st, Florida Senator Marco Rubio introduced legislation to repeal the health care mandate. For Real to Real, I'm Teri Breguet.
Bishop McDonnell and the other American bishops are asking the laity to do two things. First, to pray and fast that wisdom and justice may prevail, and second, to visit usccb.org/conscience to learn more about how to contact Congress in support of legislation to reverse the administration's decision. You can also find a link on our website, iobserve.org. We'll bring you more on this important subject as it unfolds.